Today we'll revise what we discussed yesterday, and today you'll find that drop-down binding is so easy because there are only 5 lines which you have to understand, not remember. Okay, if you understand 5 lines, maximum React is covered here. Okay, so what are those 5 lines? When I want to show any drop-down, okay, I have to first call the API in use effect with empty bracket on page load. Okay, so I have to show this drop down, able to select. First step is to call the API in use effect with empty bracket. Second is pull the data from store onto the page using use selector, because this is sending the data to use selector. Now in the store, so the data will come to the page only when you get the data using use selector. Declare the state variable to return the user interaction. The user is clicking on any row of a drop down, so that interaction is retained in a state variable. So you have to declare a state variable. The click event sets this state variable. So click event is giving you some value. You have to state that value into the state variable. And 4 props will go to the dropdown. So what are those 4 props? Use selector, which shows the list. Click event, where user clicks on the action. On the click of the action, state variable is set. And lastly, the label of the dropdown. So if you remember these 5 steps, you can write any code of React. Okay, so as we go on, these are the only React concepts which will require, which are covered in these 5 steps. And these are the only React concept which will require throughout the 10 sessions or whenever you go onto the page. But you should have the ability to explain dropdown in these 5 lines only. So if you understand any line, like for example, in click event set the state variable, I can show you the most complex component uses this single line. And that is nothing but on click, you set the state variable. That's all. This particular line is used. This particular line is used in all the complex component. If you understand what it is doing, it is only getting the value from component and setting into the state variable. Okay. So if you pick any line and you are able to understand what is the code, what is the purpose, how React is used in these 5 things, you can write any React code. And that is how I'm going to explain you in a flow. Okay. So yesterday we took almost 45 minutes to explain what is dropdown. Today, only these 5 lines. I'll just repeat it again. Only these 5 lines writes the dropdown code. And again, I repeat, these are the only concepts which are covered in these 5 lines. जर ह्या लाईनचा अर्थ तुम्हाला कळाला, ह्या रिएक्ट मध्ये काय काय कन्सेप्ट वापरले, ह्या लाईनचा अर्थ कळाला की ह्याच्यातले कुठले कन्सेप्ट वापरले गेले, एवढं जर तुम्हाला कळालं तर तुम्ही रिएक्टचा कुठलाही कोड लिहू शकता. सो आय एम रिपीटिंग जस्ट हाऊ यू हॅव टू स्पीक अँड रिमेंबर or able to understand the React code. So if I have to show a dropdown, first of all, you have to call API in use effect with empty bracket. Once you have called the API, then get the data from store into the page using use selector. Declare the state variable, which is going to retain the user interaction. In click event, set this state variable. The value is coming from click event. And lastly, pass use selector, click event, state variable, and label to the searchable component. This is what is I am expecting from all the 6 people whenever I ask, tell me the code for dropdown. Ankita, is this 5 lines clear? This is how you have to explain. Will you be able to explain me tomorrow in these 5 lines without looking anywhere?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So please remember this. Okay, now you are able to write a drop-down code. You're able to understand React concept. If you are able to define any line and understand what is the React concept behind that, and that's all you need to understand React. Okay.